Episode 3 of FX FEUD CAPOTE vs. the SWANS, the second season of Ryan Murphy's Feud series, left viewers with a memorable black and white masquerade ball. But in Episode 4, as Truman battles sobriety and Babe battles cancer, it seems as though the good old days may have finally come to an end. The title of the fourth episode, It's Impossible, alludes to the musical theme that runs throughout the whole show, Perry Como's eerie bolero, whose sweeping romanticism is here connected to the beauty and grace Babe Paley emanates, as well as to the twin love affairs she's lamenting and reinterpreting in light of her impending death. The episode begins with the song as Babe gets ready to face the outside world. She applies cosmetics. She spreads her things out and puts them on. She selects her own jewelry. She adjusts her hair to perfection, only as it happens to not need any of these accessories when she gets to the hospital for her chemotherapy. She gets all dolled up and then lets go of all that vanity. However, these customs reveal a lot about Babe, including her near obsession with appearance. It admits its fragility with clarity and has some strength to it as well. After all, nothing prepares her for the realization that she only has a few months to live. The radiation doesn't appear to be helping, and the tumor is not getting smaller. Watts has long been known for her skill as an actress in situations like this, where a woman's pain can be read through her pursed lip to reveal a tragic story about the few options available to her. Although it's evident that Babe is concerned by the diagnosis, it has strengthened her instead of breaking her. She is still steely but more orchid than Magnolia. She starts to question whether or not to forgive Truman as a result of her resiliency. Presently preoccupied, Truman seems to be planning a follow-up to his masquerade ball as a peace offering to his swans, whom he hopes would reunite for a reunion of the past. Unless Slim has anything to say about it, of course. Motivated by a fervor that has transformed the stunning Californian into a vicious snake of a woman, maybe the best passage in the series thus far is when she asks Truman if he has been expelled from the Lollipop Guild. She demands that every swan avoid the celebration and make every effort to thwart it. They all eat lunch together while CZ tells them about Truman's party plans, and she exclaims at them, "He's a cockroach." Babe starts to question whether or not she ought to forgive him and go to the ball at that point. She tells Slim, the real gift goes to the person doing the forgiving, acknowledging that her lack of time and exhaustion from battling may have more to do with the act of forgiveness, not that she tells her pals that. If Truman was easier to love and forgive, that would be less difficult. However, we find him drinking himself to the point of death once more and suffering abuse at the hands of O'Shea, his girlfriend. He screams at Truman before hitting him. He enters rehab as a result of this new low, like many addicts do, with some assistance from Jack, his lifelong boyfriend. Could it stick? CZ and Joanne Carson certainly hope so, and he tells them as much when they visit him at the facility a few weeks later and observe how much he's flourishing. No matter, Slim is intent on still destroying him. What's going to happen when he finishes his book? When it is her, CZ, and Lee who end up at the end of his piercing gaze, such venomous attacks, which include planting blind items to further isolate Capote, make a lot more sense when we see she's sleeping with Bill Paley. She's a liberated woman enjoying the freedom that affords her, and the two have found one another in their shared anticipated grief over losing Babe soon. Lane is having a ball playing Slim, finding grit in her effortless style and a viciousness that's quite becoming. To see her playfully banter with Bill, you can see why she so easily lets herself betray her friend, and why she so wants to avenge her when it comes to Truman. There's a buoyancy to their banter that Babe could never compete with. Everything collapses when Slim is sat down by Lee, Callista Flockhart, giving one of her best performances, who shockingly admits to her that she is aware of what is going on between Bill and her. Who else is aware of this? No one, Lee answers. Nobody who is not in love with you. Once more, gossip serves as both currency and ammunition, influencing the way these women communicate with one another and providing them with the fuel to operate. Thus, Slim decides to break up with Bill. Even yet, how will she confront Babe following such a betrayal? Babe is always one step ahead. As they dance to Como's It's Impossible, she almost implies to Bill that she is aware that Slim is his partner. She wants him to be content after she's gone, and Slim seems like the ideal candidate, doesn't she? As the two dance together in their house, a lot remains unsaid. Unfortunately, Jack discovers something different when he pays Truman a visit a few days after his return from rehab. Calm domesticity. Rather than finding him at his keyboard, completing answered prayers as he had planned and promised, he finds himself back in bed with John, falling into his own pitiful cycle of desperation, while inebriated and ashamed. It is depressing. It is sorrowful. Jack decides it's too much and walks away. It might be pointless to assist someone like Truman. Or, to borrow Como's phrase, it's impossible. However, the song and lyrics by Como might perfectly capture the episode's climax. Director Gus Van Sant initially gives viewers the impression that Truman and Babe are speaking to one another as they each talk to their therapists about hoping for and fantasizing about a potential reunion. However, Truman, who has recently become sober once more, is walking across the city with Carrie O'Shea, John's adult daughter, whom he has taken under his wing, when he notices Babe ogling the black and white dress through a window. Could he come over to her? Must he? Of course he does, and Babe speaks to the writer tenderly, maybe motivated by the forgiveness she hopes to give herself. Both of them are polite, perhaps too polite, but that's all they have left, especially since Truman has decided to call off the celebration, so they won't have a ball to get together for. Repetition is not the best way to learn. Even better, don't ever look back. In a really kind and considerate move, Babe asks him if he is still writing. "I'm trying," he responds, and she gracefully responds, living up to the impression that Truman had always given of her, saying that trying is the most important part. Since who ultimately prevails in the end? Such a meeting never took place, as readers of Lawrence Leamer's Capote's Women, a true story of love, betrayal, and a swan song for an era are aware. After his Esquire article, Capote never saw or spoke with Babe. Is feud changing history, or are we just seeing a type of collectively idealized vision about a possible meeting? Is it really so unlikely that they happened to cross paths in this manner? Is this another case of feud playing tricks on us when Truman allows his delusions to seep into reality? At the conclusion of the episode, Capote describes himself as a Prometheus who is being punished for robbing the gods, perhaps the goddesses in this instance, of their fire. But vodka, not eagles, is destroying him every day. Treat Williams, who passed away a year ago, is honored in this episode. The SAG and Emmy Award-nominated actor has one of the most moving scenes in this episode, if not the entire show thus far. He explodes at Babe, asking, "Do any of you say anything outright?" Realizing how much was left unsaid in every one of the wealthy elite's relationships, including those between friends and even rivals. Liz Smith, also referred to as the Grande Dame of Dish, may only have a supporting role in this week's episode, but her influence was vital in further severing Capote from his social group. At Capote's rehab, CZ briefly reads the following column: Truman Capote plans pity party of the century. Disgraced writer Truman Capote is allegedly planning a follow-up to his well-known black and white ball in a desperate attempt to save face. Some people believe that the purported party is an ineffective attempt to win back the affections of New York's elite, whom he despised in his most recent memoir, La Côte Basque, 1965. Truman, you are the most important person in the world. You can rely on Joe Mantello to be able to break you with the most basic of lines. Using the statement, he's hung like a Pegasus as well. I began to wonder whether FEUD CAPOTE versus the Swans was breaking some kind of record for the amount of discussion that a high-end television show could fit into a single episode. Fun fact, Armando Manzanero's famous bolero, Somos Novios, which translates to "we're boyfriend and girlfriend" or "we're dating," is covered in English by Como in his song It's Impossible. Manzanero's version probably hints more bluntly at the romantic ties that underpin the song than Como's.